Well, Peter Jennings is the Executive Director of the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, but also a former Director of Strategy in the Department of Defence. And, Peter, I'm grateful for your time. Thank you for being with us tonight. Is the Prime Minister on the right tram here?
Yes, absolutely. I think an inquiry of this nature is exactly what's needed. And, Alan, I think it's going to surface things which will come as a real surprise to the Australian people. I know on records from a couple of years ago, there are at least 1,700 agreements between Australian universities and Chinese universities and research institutions. Some of these will be perfectly above board, I'm sure, but there will be many that will involve dual-use technology for the military and things that we should really be quite concerned about. So, yes, I think the PM is...
You're saying that we've had a decade where greed and naivety turned us willfully blind to the predatory ambitions of China. I mean, are we so naive that we couldn't see this train wreck coming down the street?
I think a lot of people were, and if they had any concerns, well, the money factor made it possible for them to look the other way. I find it amazing how sophisticated people running our university systems were not more concerned about these issues, not concerned about human rights, about Australian values, Alan. And for me, the worst of it all is that research which on the face of it could assist the Chinese military is being done at Australian universities.
They want the money.
They want the money.
They want the money. I thought what was chilling was what you said, Peter. Beijing's aim is clear. It wants us to become so economically dependent on China that our sovereignty is compromised, our national security hollowed out, and our intellectual property stripped mined. That's the guts of it, isn't it?
It is, Alan. There is no sense in which Beijing is interested in a relationship of equals with Australia or any other country. It wants subservience amongst the countries in the region. And as we've seen in the last few months, if you're not prepared to do that, and of course Australians won't, you're going to be attacked. You'll be coerced. You'll have your economy attacked. That's how Beijing is deciding to sort of portray itself around the world. With Australia, I think, being a bit of a canary in the mineshaft because we built that level of dependence to such a degree. So it's going to take some time to walk back from that.
Quite. I mean, you say for Victoria or any other state or territory to build dependence on a single market is economically irresponsible and strategically dangerous. Well, that's where we are. Now, universities are doing the same thing. They want the money.
Absolutely. So, we're in the situation we're in. What we have to do now is diversify, spread markets. The universities need to develop a different business model, which is not going to make them financially reliant on Chinese students. They need to diversify their sources of research so that there is not this preponderance of agreements that is happening with Chinese universities. There's a lot that can be done. People just have to be creative and natural.
Just before you go, I want to ask about the port of Darwin. I mean, what on earth is going to happen there?
Well, a 99-year lease and 95 years still to go.
Amazing.
I believe that the government is being reluctant right now, but I think that the sense of community anger about this is obvious. And sooner or later, what that will mean is that the government will have to step in and find a way to take over the port, I think on very sensible grounds to do with military security. My view would be if the government can't find a way to do that in the next year or two, the opposition will make a pledge to do that before the next election. So I'm hoping that Scott Morrison will be forward-leaning on this.
Good on you. Good to talk to you, Peter. Thank you for your time. Very important. We'll talk again. The Executive Director of the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, Peter Jennings.